now, Will, it's time to talk to a very, very special guest. Probably one of the biggest stars we've had on this show in a while. Someone I've known since they were a young whippersnapper with a big old afro at London Irish. He's then gone on to play for England, to play for the British and Irish Lions. He's done it all in the Premiership as well. And sadly, he's just announced his retirement from injury. A real talent that had to leave the game too young, something my heart can really resonate with, but someone who's always insightful, always amazing, a great person as well as a player, the one, the only, Anthony Watson.
We are very lucky indeed. And I know Corbs is so gutted not to be here because he was reminding me about the London Irish days as well. But Anthony Watson, thank you for joining me on the Rugby Rundown, a former teammate of mine as well. But more importantly, buddy, how are you at the moment?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Somehow, over the Six Nations and with everything coming up, I'm somewhat busy, but I'm still enjoying, mate, having a diary for the first time, mate, and having to book stuff in is something new, and trying to fit, training in and around other duties it's interesting. Let's
touch on that a little bit because for some of our American viewers, who I'm sure will know of you, but maybe haven't heard the complete recent news of retiring earlier this year, maybe just sum it up, give us a glimpse as to what made that decision happen for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so, mate, I had surgery on my back, January 2024. And, I guess from that moment on, I knew that whenever you have a surgery to your back, you're kind of not playing with fire, but it opens up potential issues, I guess. And unfortunately, mate, it just didn't get to a point where it was good enough for me to carry on playing. And I spoke to the surgeon in December, so 2-3 months ago now, because literally, mate, I played against Sale in December and I couldn't sit down before the game. Like, I was lying down on the bus on the way to the game, had to get the train home afterwards. And so obviously I went to see him about a week or so after, and he was like, I don't think it's wise for you to carry on playing. And, I'm very grateful, mate, that it happened that way, to be honest with you, because, I think if he hadn't told me to stop, you know what I'm like, well, like, I would have carried on and it would have ended up badly for everyone. So it's not a sob story at all, mate. I'm really, really happy with what I was able to do. Yes, I wish I could have done more, but it is what it is. And how many people get to write their own script? Not many. So, mate, you just got to keep it moving,
Man, I mean, we've listed the accolades you've got behind you. You've done very, very well. But I suppose now you're on the flip side of things, watching the boys play, and obviously the Six Nations has concluded. France winning it, England just missing out. But as a former England international, give us a kind of overview of the Six Nations. Were France the right team to win it?
I was thinking about this the other night, and I was thinking how hard it is to, like, how fine, the lines are in professional sport, whether winner of such a large tournament like the Six Nations is decided by point difference. Yeah. And it's just so brutal. Like, you've got 3 teams who have, like, ripped in for the last 8 weeks and done almost everything you could have asked of them, and it all comes down to points difference. So I'd say that England will be happier than the start of the tournament, I would say. Obviously we were talking about them just getting wins before or after the autumn. So they'll be happy to not to just have come where they came, but they'll be happy to win close games that they would have previously lost. And I think that that's the real shining light for England, is that they were able to see these games over the line. And we also saw, the breakout of a lot of excellent players, mate, like Finn Smith. Mate, he's been phenomenal. And I'm a massive Marcus Smith fan, and I was pushing or wanting him to play 10-all tournament. And now, I'm very much sat there like, mate, that is a hell of a competition between those two now for who plays 10. So they've had, brilliant aspects of the tournament. I think Ireland will probably be frustrated. I think for them to lose how they lost against France so dominantly is what cost them the tournament, because ultimately it goes back to points difference. And so they'll be really frustrated. And, we've got to talk about the winners, mate. I think France 1-15 probably do have the best team in the tournament.
Do you think best team in the world at the moment as well? What do you think to that?
Oh, that's rogue. I don't know. I mean, you just can't look past South Africa, mate. And I say that with gritted teeth because they battered me in a World Cup final and they battered me on a Lions tour. So it really hurts me to say that they're the best team in the world, but they are, mate. And you just can't, you can never rule them out because they've got the most unbelievable pack in the world. And their backline is freakish, like you've got Cheslin Colby, Curtly Aronson, Andre Pollard. You could talk about any centres they want to name or any fullback they want to name, and they're world class. So, mate, match that up with the pack, and mate, you're fighting uphill. So
France best in the Northern Hemisphere, but you're saying basically just because you win a Six Nations doesn't mean you're top of the tree.
Precisely, mate. You took the words out of my mouth. And I'll say right now, I think England have actually got a better trajectory to be the best team in the world with the age of their squad, with how their performances are trending.
It's very interesting to see how the rest of this year unfolds. But look, as much as I would love to continue to talk to you about Six Nations, I want to come to probably where our audience wants to talk about and the big news that's come out about July 19th. In Washington, D.C., back at Audi Field, the USA Eagles will be there and taking on England. Now, we had a little laugh earlier because the last time that you and I played in that game, I was playing for the US, you were playing for England, was at the 2019 Rugby World Cup. And unfortunately, my night didn't end so well. It actually ended up in a hospital. But for you went on to a World Cup final. Look, Anthony, in terms of just how exciting it is that England are now coming to the US shores, and this game is happening in a place like DC.
Yeah, mate, I think it's amazing for the game that England are going out there and playing a competitive team in the US. They've been improving the last couple of years, and I think with England missing key players over the Lions tour, I think it will make for a really entertaining spectacle, which I think is really important for the game of rugby in the States. People want to be entertained. People want to see the rawness and the athletes go toe to toe. And I think that there's no better place, better two teams to do it in the USA than the USA and England. So, mate, I think it's class. I'm gutted that, I've obviously retired and can't be there because that tour, from an English perspective, would be amazing, mate. The lads will absolutely love being over there. I'm so jealous.
Or maybe we could get you out here in some other format. I talked about that game in 2019. Like, any kind of memories of when you've either come against the USA or USA players that you've played against in your time?
Yeah, mate. Well, funny you should say that. I remember Mike Te'o. I think he was my opposite.
Yeah, Mikey Te'o. Yeah.
Yeah, mate, the bloke just refused to get tackled. Like, honestly, he was fighting for everything. And another good mate of mine, Joe Taufete, who I had the privilege of playing with at Leicester. Hell of a boy, mate. What a legend he is. So
legend.
The American lads were always that little bit more hospitable, and it was always a pleasure to play against them, and even more of a pleasure to be able to tell my missus that I battered her country fan.
That's a great way of then leading into the kind of my next question, because yes, you go into that a little bit more. You actually have American connections. Now, I know you're retired, but would you have liked to have maybe got over to these shores and played in Major League Rugby and just been part of the growth of rugby here in the US?
100%, mate. I think it was something that I mentioned to the missus, in passing, kind of maybe 2-3 years ago. She wasn't having too much of it for some reason. I think, if I did go over there, mate, as you know, I would have to be somewhere where the weather's beautiful. You won't see me playing for the Free Jacks or anyone north of
She's a Florida girl, though, so you'd probably end up in Miami or somewhere like that.
Yeah, that sounds nice. It's got a ring to it. But mate, I think that the rugby over there growing, I think, is brilliant for the sport. I think a strong America and a strong American league only makes rugby union as a whole significantly better. And I think that the more influence that America has on the sport and how it's conducted, everything around it, the more that they are involved in decisions, the better. Because those are the guys who know entertainment inside out. They know how to put on sporting festivals or games or or competitions, whatever you want to call it. And you see that across the board whenever you see the NBA, the NFL, whatever it is. Americans do sport better than anyone else. And so the more influence they have on rugby, the better. And hopefully we'll get a glimpse of that, mate, this summer in DC, which is why I think it's so brilliant that England are going out there.
You're hitting all the right notes, mate. You're very well media trained. I love it. But in terms of the MLR, like I always, as someone who obviously has played in the UK, and I always heard of rumblings. But I'm just interested from your network and even the people that you're close with in that England team. Is Major League Rugby talked about at all?
It is definitely talked about. I think it's talked about because people want to try something different. They want to explore, a growing league. They want to live in some of these beautiful places, like Miami. You said it there. Playing in New York, apart from when it's sub-zero, mate, is a brilliant place to live. So these are like once in a lifetime experiences for players to be able to play in these fantastic places. So the attraction is there, to go over there. If the rugby continues on the trajectory it's been on, then it's going to become a real hotspot for lads to want to go and play. But it's definitely discussed, mate, 100%.
I love the fact that you're an advocate, mate. You're already a hero in our eyes, but you've just gone one step up by speaking good of Major League Rugby. Now let's bring it to... You have to, which is great. And as I say, as you've mentioned as well, you're married to an American, so you should be keeping it good. Let's bring it to the Premiership, because here on the Rugby Network, the Premiership is back. Our US viewers can catch it all there. And man, there's 7 rounds left, and your Leicester Tigers, one of your former teams, is back playing on Friday in an East Midlands derby. I mean, talk about straight from Six Nations into then this derby clashes, and every game matters now, man.
Mate, 100%. I think it is very smart of Premiership Rugby to do it how they've done that, because the Six Nations finishes and generally there's a lull. People are kind of in the hangover of Six Nations. They're not sure about rugby, where to go next. So to go straight back into Derby weekend and I guess strike whilst the iron's hot is perfect. And Friday night, the biggest game of the lot, mate, the East Midlands Derby, boy, I know that the Leicester lads will be fired up for sure. I just hope that we see as many stars as possible, because some of the lads do need a rest. Hopefully a lot of the Saints lads need a rest. And the Leicester boys can get one up. But mate, you can never count those boys out. I'm always, I was part of that squad this year, so I'll always be rooting for them. And I'm hoping that they can do the business and get one up on Northampton this Friday.
Another one of your teams, of course, is Bath. They play on the Sunday in a massive encounter, I believe, against Gloucester. I'll double check that. But I know they're the team that you sort of all grew up with and whatever. They're kind of top of the tree. I guess from my question to you is, predictions come the end of the year. Are Bath favourites? Big game coming up for Saracens, Harlequins at Tottenham at Stadium. Does that dictate a little bit what happens later on in the year? How do you see this Premiership sort of concluding?
Yeah, tough one. I think Bath right now are definitely favourites. I would say that their chances were definitely hindered over the Six Nations with the injury to Ollie Lawrence. He is such a unique player and so pivotal to them going forward and defensively that their chances have definitely reduced. But with Finn Russell and with the depth that Bath have got, they're in a better place than anyone at the moment. But that being said, what you can't account for is doggedness, and Leicester Tigers, mate, have got that in buckets. And I think that with the experience they've got in that squad, mate, I think that for me, having seen the hard work, seen what they've been through, seen, like I said, the experience that they've got in the squad, I don't know. I just can't look past them. I think that they'll be in the final. I'm predicting a Bath Leicester Tigers final.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it'll be very interesting for me. I think Sarries will definitely be there or thereabouts. And mate, there's so many. That's the thing with the Six Nations.
Yeah, it's tight.
There's so many. You can't count out Gloucester. You can't count out Sale. You can't count out Quins. All these teams, So those are two that I would put some money on to be there or thereabouts. The rest of it, you lot can fight for whatever you want.
You're speaking to a former Saints man, and then Corbs will be livid the fact that you're picking Leicester in front of the Saints. But look, we massively appreciate having your insights. It's funny me calling you Anthony. That feels very formal. But Tony, it is great to see you. I suppose final question for me to you is, what does life look like for Anthony Watson now that you're retired? And of course, there's a British and Irish Lions tour coming up. Like, are you going to maybe get involved in that? Maybe touch a little bit on the Lions and the journey that maybe you might see yourself as a spectator this time, not playing in it?
Mate, I would love to go out there. I think that's definitely a bucket list opportunity to go out to the Lions. And I think that what makes this tour even more special is the fact that 4 years ago, obviously there was no fans. So people are really craving to be in and amongst that environment that is so unbelievably unique. Everyone's desperate to go out there. And yeah, I mean, mate, if I can go, it would be an absolute touch. Hopefully we can get a crew of us doing some work out there and enjoying what Australia has to offer. But it is honestly, from the two ones I've been on, the one with fans is so infinitely better than the other. Right. It's really important that they're around, and the impact that they have is huge. So I'm very jealous, mate, again, of the lads being able to do this tour and do it properly. And I'm sure there'll be some serious stories to come out of camp afterwards.
I mean, I'm interested to be as well. I probably should have asked earlier in terms of, has that squad pretty much been picked itself after the Six Nations? Obviously, it's announced in May. But just from your perspective, would you say there's still room for maybe that squad to change?
I think so. I think that it'll be dictated by a couple of things. I think it'll be dictated by Champions Cup form. That'll play a factor. Some people will come in really hot into the latter stages of that tournament. And I think the injuries will dictate stuff as well, because it's a long old wait, mate. I've been there between getting named in the squad and going on the plane. And there's so much rugby to be played, even training to be done. Anything can happen, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, but it can happen. And that's what changes the outlook of squads. Like we looked to 4 years ago, and Andrew Porter was named in the squad. He was there the first time we all met up. And then, he ends up being injured, and Carl Sinclair ends up going. And again, it's what makes that tour so strange and brilliant at the same time, is that one person's like extreme disappointment is the absolute pinnacle of another man's career. But it's just, honestly, I can't talk highly enough of that team and being a part of it. Like, it's just so special.
Love it, man. Well, look, we're gutted that you're not still on the field. You were such a talent, and I say that from experience playing with you and against you. But what we appreciate is you coming on the Rugby Rundown, Anthony Watson. To finish this, we wanted to test Anthony Watson's knowledge of some USA stars. We know that he's a star of the English and British Lions sphere, but how well does he know some of the American superstars out there? Here in RugbyWiki, I'm going to give Anthony a few clues. Let's see how he gets on. All right, buddy. So, first one, let's hit this. So, I was born in Ireland and went to college in the USA. That was the easiest one so far. Tick. Well done. Bristol Bears. USA Eagle fly half. AJ McGinty. Here we go. I'm 40 years old. I was born in California and played for the US between 2010 to 2018. I came to play in England in 2011. Who am I?
Oh... Can we get a team in England?
Yeah. Do you need a clue? Okay. I came to Northampton Saints in 2011.
Oh no. Why do I want to say his name's Todd?
No.
Okay.
Do you need something else?
Yeah.
I usually played in the second row.
Oh my god, this is awful. I know exactly who it is. Samu Manoa. What am I thinking?
It's Samu Manoa, the absolute legend Premiership winner, of course, with Northampton Saints.
Mate, that guy, by the way, we went on a night out in Cardiff, and he poured me about 5 Guinnesses and was the reason why I was sent home in a taxi very early. So shout out Samu Manoa if he's listening.
Oh, we'll get that in front of him, 100%. He might probably not remember that night, by the sounds of it as well.
Probably not.
Okay, last few. I'm 37 years old from Sacramento. I played at Leicester Tigers between 2013 to 2015.
I know who it is.
I then signed for Cardiff Blues.
I know exactly who it is. I know exactly who it is, and I can't remember his name. No, this is gonna. Oh my God, this is gonna do my head, and I can see him running in my head now.
I tell you what. Talking about beers and Guinnesses, if you were to down a beer, what is another word for downing a beer?
Chug.
Begins with S.
See it off. What?
I'm trying to help you out here, man.
S.
He was USA captain as well. He captained the US against you in 2019 Rugby World Cup. In fact, he's a fellow winger as well.
I know, mate. I played against him, and I can see him running in my head now.
Right.
Oh no, you can't.
Time's up. Blaine Scully.
Blaine Scully.
You're better.
I wouldn't. That was...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Shame. Okay, I am 28 years old. I've played for the USA 15s and 7s team. I am a Premiership Women's Rugby 2025 semi-finalist.
Ilona Mar?
Well done. There's only one Ilona Mar. I knew you'd get that. Well done. Right, Anthony Watson.
I'll take that.
Well done. Shame for Blaine Scully. I'll let him know.
Sorry, brother.
Great to have you on, and wishing you all the best. Cheers, man. Take care.
Appreciate you, bro. Cheers, bro.